Good afternoon, good morning, good day, no matter where you are in this world. Welcome. This is Sportcat's Daily Gazette. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you're ready to get some entertaining news. Well, I don't know if it's entertaining, but it's news. How about that? So, we are here. We're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll. I hope everybody is having a great day. Let's see who else is in the chat. Remember, if you're listening on Radio X in Australia, or Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, you're more than welcome to come over and join our chat. We're live on the Para R Normal Guys, 3 words, guys spelled with a Z, and join in the chat. Currently, Denise is here. Welcome, Denise. Missed you yesterday. Hello, Chris. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Wendell, you're always a treasure to have. I'm glad you're here. So everybody is having a good morning, I think, except for me. Running late this morning. I overslept. It's been a rough week so far, so but you know how it goes. It's the life of a rocket machine, right? Isn't that what they say? So Chris says, I would want this song for my entrance song if I was a pro wrestler. Well, it's actually royalty free, so you can download it. But it's funny, it's royalty free, but they gig me every time I use it. I don't understand. So, but I have to send it a letter. It'll keep going for a while. So all right, everybody, like I said, come over, like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Para R Normal Guys with a Z. Through the magic of technology, I'm also live on Thin Line Rock Station at this very same time. So you can check me out Tuesdays and Thursdays. But make sure you come back here and watch our show because I'm live over there from noon till 2 Eastern time in the United States. So all right, well, we'll start off with a little breaking news as we did yesterday. If you remember, we broke a story yesterday and then the media just loved it. I commented after watching the show, almost every one of my stories was on mainstream media. And I was like, are they watching my show? I hope so. Bring it. I'm excited for this. So we'll start off yesterday's big headline. Well, it's still today's big headline, but this to me was a little bit more important. This is out of the state of Georgia, my state, obviously. And we're talking about illegal immigration. You have to go pay bills, Wendell. That's no fun. Stop doing that. Just ignore it. So so this is from Fox News, obviously. This is about an illegal immigrant that was released by the Biden administration. Another one in the state of Georgia has now been charged with killing a Georgia grandmother in a random attack. David Hector Riveras, he's 21. He's charged with murdering a 52-year-old female, Camelia Williams. The murder suspect, accused of strangling her to death, is a Georgia mother of 5. In the latest wave of attacks from Honduran illegal immigrants, he was caught and released at the southern border by, well, you know that guy, the Biden administration, in March of 2021. The also has been the subject of a deportation order since 23 July. Well, that was prior to, who the other one was. Deflection. I'm not sure what you mean, Ross. Deflection. That was prior to the previous administration, but now he's being charged with capital murder in the death of Camelia Williams, a 52-year-old mother of 5 and grandmother. Her body was found dumped in a wooded area, authorities say. You're saying this is not a story. This is a story. It's absolutely a story. It is absolutely a story. A murder of a lady killed? Yes, it is absolutely a story. I disagree with you 100%. Williams' family told local media outlets that she said a man had been following her in days before she was killed. Authorities have not yet determined a connection. An arrest warrant states that he assaulted Williams, placing her in a chokehold, causing her to lose consciousness sometime between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. on March 12th, according to Fox Atlanta. Once unconscious, allegedly told police he's told police this, he put both knees and full body weight on her neck, leading to her death. Department of Homeland Security told Fox News Rivera's Sagstatum entered the United States illegally on March 17, 2021, and was arrested by ICE. He was issued a notice to appear and then paroled into the country by the previous administration. A judge ordered him removed on July 11th in 2023. March 18th, 2025, he was arrested by the Cobb County Police for capital murder and other crimes. ICE has lodged an immigration detainer with Cobb County Jail. President Trump and Secretary Noam will now allow will will now allow criminal illegal aliens accused of murder to be loose on the streets. Okay, I'm reading that wrong. ICE lodged an immigration detainer with Cobb County Jail. President Trump and Secretary Noam will not, that was a key word I was forgetting there, will not allow criminal illegal aliens, including accused murderers, to be loose on the streets. He's being held with no bonds. And of course, we know this draws to the similar story that was out in the Georgia headlines, actually worldwide headlines, of Laken Riley. The Democrats don't like to admit that because not a single Democrat voted for the Laken Riley Act. Sorry, Ross, it is absolutely a story. Sorry, Yergs, it is absolutely a story. So, and if you think I'm going to ignore the other story of the day, obviously I'm not. Signal Head defends messaging apps. If you remember, Signal is the chat messaging app that was used by the, I don't know, pretty much the top dogs in the current administration. Yes, I am Sportcat. I apologize, and I'm sorry, Yergs. It's just a hard habit to break. Let's see. I need to go back through the chat here. Ross is, yes, he is up the middle, and he is also Talk TV 24. And let's see here. And that is not deflection. It is a story. And I did open with this, Ross, because I do feel it's a story, and I will go to other stories as well. So, at any rate, all right. Beyond, welcome, Brenda. Welcome. How are you? Boy, the chat is just going crazy here because I come out with a story about a grandmother that's 52 that was killed. Sorry. Okay, Signal was the main headline story yesterday, and it was, I'm talking to myself, apparently, beyond the box. Signal is a chat messaging app that was used by pretty much every head of all of Trump's people. I'm starting off trying to hit the ground running, and it's been a rough day. Sorry, guys. Anyhow, Signal is a messaging app that we've all used. I've used it, and everybody uses a messenger program. So of some sort, whether it's Google Text, Yahoo Messenger, gosh, back in the day, there was ICQ, there's all kinds. Anyhow, this one says that they are encrypted. Well, according to the president of the Signal, which is the app that was used in question, well, it's not in question, it was used. Signal defended the messaging app security on Wednesday after I should have read the article, top Trump administration officials mistakenly included a journalist in an encrypted chat room. It's not actually a chat room, but it's more like just a group. So anyhow, she said she did not directly address the blunder, which Democratic lawmakers has said was a breach of U.S. national security, but she described the app as the gold standard in private communication. And a post on X outlined Signal security advantages over Meta's WhatsApp messaging app. Yeah, anybody can find you on WhatsApp. We're open source nonprofit, and we develop and apply end-to-end encryption and privacy preserving tech across our system. Defends to protect metadata and message contents. Signal has been growing in popularity in Europe and the United States. I have used it in years. We have used it for many years for my family. So, and it's just because we have people on iPhones and we have people on Android. And so I actually think my son's on Linux. But anyhow, yeah, we've used it. So was it a leak? Yes. Was it a problem? Yes. Should it have happened? No. In a statement, WhatsApp spokesman said it relies on metadata to prevent spam and keep the service safe from abuse. Well, that's absolute crap because I get spam from them all the time. We do not keep logs of anyone who is messaging or calling and do not track the personal messages people are sending to one another for ads, according to the statement. So she is defending that it was secure after the U.S. war plan was leaked on her app, but it is still not an approved messaging system in the United States government. So, yeah. All right. So my next story up here I'm going to cover real quick is we have breaking news that Russia and Ukraine have agreed to a U.S. brokered ceasefire. This comes from Zero Hedge. Washington and Moscow are seeking to revive the Black Sea grain deal, which held much of the 22, was which had held for much of 2022, allowing Ukraine to ship its grain and agricultural products to global markets. The White House Tuesday published the two readouts from successive days of talks in Raya, I guess it's Raya, with Russia and Ukraine delegations, which feature a ceasefire at sea to ensure safe navigation, eliminate the use of force, and prevent the use of commercial vessels for military purposes on the Black Sea. And even as the two warring sides continue to send drones and missiles against each other, the U.S. said that all involved have agreed to develop measures for implementing the early agreement to stop strikes against energy infrastructure. But have they actually agreed? Both sides are saying yes, but they are actually both still doing it. Zelensky is saying that Ukraine to implement partial ceasefire now will extend losses as Ukraine to implement ceasefire. Oil extends losses as Ukraine. Okay. Kremlin confirms agreement on a safe navigation at Black Sea. Zelensky blasts U.S. restoring Russian agricultural exports. Zelensky says Ukraine understanding is that agreed ceasefire is effective immediately following the U.S. announcement. Zelensky says he will ask Trump for weapons, new Russian sanctions if Moscow breaks the ceasefire. Yes, Ukraine thinks that we're in bed with Russia, as do many other democratic people. So Ukraine and Russia will also continue working towards a durable and lasting peace, both White House statements said. Both versions also emphasized that the United States reiterated Donald Trump's imperative that the killing on both sides of the Russia-Ukraine conflict must stop as necessary steps toward achieving enduring peace. The Russian specific document further indicated that the U.S. would help restore Russia's access to the world market in agriculture and fertilizer exports, lower maritime insurance costs, and enhance access to the ports and payment systems of such transactions. Russia and Ukraine have yet to sign on. Russia said on Tuesday it is willing to strike a new agreement on the safety and shipping in the Black Sea, a possible stepping stones toward a ceasefire with Ukraine, but only if the United States ordered President Zelensky to respect it. All right, so there you go. To that end, the United States will continue facilitating negotiations between both sides to achieve a peaceful resolution in line with the agreements made in Riyadh, the White House said. But on the same day these readouts were issued, the Kremlin continued to charge that Ukraine has continually violated the enemy ceasefire. Ukraine continues to attack Russia's civilian infrastructure, proving that Kyiv does not actually want peace. So it remains a big question whether the energy ceasefire can expand to include a Black Sea ceasefire, given neither side has actually gotten off the ground. And Russian foreign minister says that the West is giving Ukraine false hope through continued arms shipments and supplies. Without them, implying us, the Ukraine would have been defeated long ago. But you see, both London and Paris are pumping Ukraine with weapons. Ukraine and European backers fear that President Putin is using these talks with the U.S. in order to stall and court Donald Trump, essentially wasting time on the diplomatic front while gobbling up more territory on the battlefield. Indeed, Moscow has less incentive at this point to a hasty ceasefire. Yes, they are. Hello, Ken. Welcome, welcome. They do have, well, both sides, if they do that, would get time to build up their weapons, supplies, and troops, and yada, yada, yada. So that is absolutely true. And both sides are continuing to get help from other sources. The U.S. and the British Empire is supplying Ukraine, and China and North Korea are supplying Russia. So absolutely both sides are getting help from outside. One of the things I heard mumbled yesterday was that the Russian people did not want NATO peacekeepers on the ground. They wanted China peacekeepers on the ground. That would be interesting. I don't know that that would ever turn out to be a thing, but that would definitely be interesting. It would put China on the world stage. She came over here for me, Brenda. Everybody loves me. What are you talking about? All right, so we're going to go to the national security story, the inside story of how a journalist was sent White House war plans. And there was a hearing today, and I overheard just a little bit of it. Um, it was really quite entertaining. Both sides were yelling at each other, and one side was deflecting. It's typical politics. Russ Yerg says if Russian people actually said that, well, that's according to media outlets, Russ. I don't know any Russian people to personally ask them. So, uh, in a major security breach, a prominent journalist says he was unintentionally included in a group text messaging app, which we talked about, with Signal, as the country's top national security officials discuss plans to bomb the Houthis in Yemen. The existence of message the exist the existence of the message chain was revealed Monday in a story on the Atlantic. We talked about it yesterday. The group chat took place on Signal. We've talked about it, an encrypted messaging app, and it began on March 11. Although no one else was aware of Goldberg, he is the reporter's president. 18 individuals participated in the chain, including the Veep, National Security Advisor, SecDef, a White House chief of staff, and senior Trump advisors. Goldberg said he had received a connection request on Tuesday, March 11th, from a user on Signal identified as Waltz, and accepted it. 2 days later, he was added to a group chat on the platform called Houthi PC Small Group. Over the course of the following day, Goldberg told NPR in an interview that he was exposed to operational military information, including discussions about planned military strikes on Yemen targeting Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. He said he was in disbelief over the security breach, noting that he was not vetted for being added to such a group chat. I assume that I'm being hoaxed. I don't blame him. I assume that either this is a foreign intelligence operation or an organization that tries to, set up journalists or embarrass them or feed them, Goldberg said in an interview on All Things Considered Monday. It was a chilling thing to realize that I had inadvertently discovered a massive security breach in the national security system of the United States. Well, the Trump administration is now facing criticism, as it should, over its handling of sensitive information on foreign policy, while the texting mishap is raising concerns among national security experts. Trump told NBC News in a phone interview on Tuesday that an aide to Waltz was responsible for the adding of Goldberg to the group. Michael Waltz has learned a lesson, and he's a good man, Trump told NBC News. Trump describes the situation as the only glitch in 2 months, and it turns out to be a serious one. Well, at least he's admitting that it was a serious one. Trump retains confidence in Waltz, said the White House press secretary. As President Trump said, the attacks on the Houthis have been highly successful and effective. President Trump continues to have the utmost confidence in his national security team, including the National Security Advisor, Michael Waltz. That was according to the White House press secretary. So, kiss my poo. Oh, you're talking. Yeah, I was sitting here thinking you were talking about the Russian leader. You're talking about Brenda's dog. All right. Donald Trump is defending the national security over the chat breach, which we just discussed. And, well, he's going to. If it was the other administration, they would defend him too. He is facing growing pressure to step down after classified details were shared with a journalist. Well, he probably should be, but the president has defended him and said that they are okay with it. So it's a growing scandal. Revelation over top officials discuss sensitive U.S. military operations on a Signal group chat. Speaking to NBC on Tuesday, the president said he has learned a lesson. He's a good man. We talked about that. He added that the Signal chat this month airstrikes on Houthis was accidentally shared with a journalist. We're the only glitch in 2 months, and it turned out to be a serious one. He is facing growing pressure to step down as a result of the Signal group chat scandal. Oh, Lord. I need to learn how to talk. Pete Hegseth, though, has come under fire for sharing detailed plans about the operation against the Houthis on the chat. I understood from a report yesterday that each of these we're talking about the people involved in this, has someone that is with them that carries ways for them to communicate digitally, visually, and verbally. So secure lines and secure ways of doing this, and you wouldn't have to actually be using your personal cell phone. And some of these people, I don't think, should even have personal cell phones, but that was made a thing after a certain administration said he couldn't give his up. But we are in the 22nd, 23rd century here, so I can see why everybody would want their personal cell phone device. So the future, the fervor over the exchange has shocked Washington and embarrassed Trump. Yes, it has. It shed light on the sloppiness with which top officials were discussing highly sensitive information about U.S. national security on an unofficial messaging platform. But it is unclear whether the U.S. law enforcement agencies will investigate the breach or if anyone within the administration will be held accountable. On Tuesday morning, senior U.S. intelligence officials, including the director of the National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and FBI head Kash Patel, were grilled by Democrats at the Senate Intelligence Committee over the affair, and they're going to a closed door one later this afternoon. Democrat Mark Warner, vice chair of the committee, said the incident was one more example of sloppy carelessness, incompetent behavior, particularly towards classified information. This is not a one-off or first-time error, he added. It's just mind-boggling to me that all these senior folks were on this line and nobody bothered to even check who else was on the line, he said. Security Hygiene 101. Who are all the names? Who are they? If you remember, one of the messages on Signal was by the SecDef and said OPSEC was good, which is operational security. Gabbard has played down the event. There was no classified information in the Signal group chat. That was echoed by Ratcliffe. My communications in a Signal message group were entirely permissible and lawful and did not include classified information. He added that the use of Signal had been approved at the highest level and was never considered a replacement for more secure messaging platforms. The National Security Advisor intended this to be a mechanism for coordinating between senior level officials, but not a substitute for using high side or classified communications for anything that would be, quote, classified. The White House has sought to dismiss the brewing scandal. In a post on X, Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt said no war plans were discussed and no classified material was sent to the thread. She added that the White House counsel's office had provided guidance on a number of different platforms for President Trump's top officials to communicate as safely and efficiently as possible. Well, one tactic they were probably using is share a little information here, share a little information there on different ones. So if they were using more than one, but we will never know the answer to that, and this will eventually will blow over. So, like every other scandal in DC, and if you've ever been in DC and you were inside the Beltway, you can be in a place and inadvertently get information. It's happened to me. I won't go into it, but it was during the Daddy Bush era, right after Reagan, and I was just in the area where something happened. So, but it was no big deal. So, but we didn't have all this technology back then. All right, so the Trump administration is invoking state secrets privilege in gang member deportation case. I feel like my mic isn't close enough. The Trump administration said revealing more information on the flights could jeopardize national security. The Trump administration invoked state secrets privilege on Monday after a federal judge demanded more information about the deportation of suspected gang members in El Salvador. This article comes to us from Zero Hedge. Attorney General Pam Bondi told U.S. District Judge James Boasberg in a filing that giving him more specific flight details would compromise national security. Bondi said Boasberg has all the information he needed to preside over the case, including statements from the Secretary of State Mark Rubio and Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem. backing the assertion of state secrets privilege. The information sought by the court is subject to the state secret privilege because disclosure would pose more reasonable danger to national security and foreign affairs. Bondi and other top Justice Department lawyers said in the filing, no more information is needed to resolve any legal issues in this case, whether the plane carries one TDA terrorist or 1,000, or whether the planes made one stop or 10 simply has no bearings or relevancy on the legal issue. State secret privilege is a legal doctrine that protects sensitive national security information during litigation. This is a case about the president's authority derived from Article 2 and the mandate of the electorate and reinforced by longstanding statute to remove from the homeland designated terrorists participating in a state-sponsored invasion and predatory incursion into the United States. All right, so they are using the state secret privilege as a, I don't know what the right wording would be, as a legal precedence, I guess. All right, and so to be fair and balanced and up the middle, let's cover a story that mainstream media is kind of leaving out. A top Democrat, Jasmine Crockett, goes off the rails again. She's the unquestioned leader of the Democratic Party, just showed us exactly where her party stands for disgusting insults and playground bullying. Crockett referred to the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, as Governor Hot Wheels, mocking his disability and a display of pure nastiness. And if you want, you can go watch this display of pure nastiness on X. This is from the Daily Caller. White House Democrats condemn these disgusting remarks from their unquestioned leader. Jasmine Crockett is the perfect spokesman for today's Democrat, out of touch and completely unhinged when you have got no message and no agenda, and that's leftist hate. And that's from the spokesperson from the Republican side, Mike Marinelli. So Abbott was paralyzed below the waist in a tragic accident and has been in a wheelchair for over 40 years. So that was not on mainstream media. That was tucked away nice and neatly in a place where it would not be found. Shocker. All right. So we talked yesterday about Brazil is coming to help us with the egg crisis. Their eggs are usually used for processing animal feed. Well, the FDA is going to approve their use for human consumption in the United States. Brenda, I am not going to repeat what you just said, or beyond the box. I'm sorry. The Biden-Harris regime's questionable handling of the nation's food supply chain, which led to the culling of 150 million egg-laying chickens amid the avian flu crisis, forced the Trump administration to fix the mess by scouring the globe for eggs. This is from an article from Zero Hedge. Over the last several weeks, the latest reports indicate that Trump officials have reached out to Italian producers, and according to the head of the Italian Association of Eggs Producers, they told Bloomberg that a representative from the U.S. Embassy had inquired about commercial poultry farm exports capacity over the next 6 months. I feel really proud and started making inquiries. This could be an opportunity for building new international relations, and we're eager to help. This is the Italian spokesperson. He noted that only 10% of Italian egg production is exported. Details show that Italy is Europe's fourth largest producer, and a quarter of the production comes from the northern region. Over the past 30 days, the Trump administration has been scouring the globe for eggs. We have Easter coming up, including several European countries, while working diligently to cap out of control egg prices and drive them back down. The latest USDA price shows eggs have egg prices have been more than half since Trump unveiled a plan to combat sky-high prices produced under the Biden administration's irresponsible culling policy. So, all right, so we're going to be getting eggs from Brazil and from Italy. So you can read that article on Zero Hedge. That was another article that did not make mainstream media. All right. And another one from Zero Hedge. Lunatics at the AOC rally brazenly call for Trump to be tortured and murdered. Hundreds of lunatics at the AOC Bernie Sanders rallies were recorded threatening violence and calling for President Trump to be tortured and murdered. Hello, Secret Service. Go do your job. One attendee wielding a sign depicting Trump's severed head, was asked, "Are you calling for his death?" and responded, "I am. Yes, I believe it's time for the people to straight cut off his effing head." Another blathered about hanging Trump by his ankles from a lamppost until dead, stating the only good fascist is a dead fascist. Another attendee stated the violence is the only thing they're going to listen to now, adding that I feel like we've done the rallies. If violence is what needs to be done, then is what needs to be done. You can watch all these nasty tweets and you can go over to X and find them yourself if you'd like, or you can come to the Zero Hedge article and they've surmised them pretty neatly. As we've discussed, the rhetoric is not quieting, and some people are calling for the guillotine to come back. Why can't we all just get along? It seems like that would be the best thing to do. But these administration officials on both parties refuse to do that. So, all right. We're going to talk about another story that was breaking yesterday. I didn't cover this one yesterday because I wasn't sure really if I should. It was a baseball player's son. He was 14 and he died in Costa Rica. And I didn't really want to cover it because, well, it's kind of personal. So I didn't know if the Yankees wanted to do anything more than send out a press release. But anyhow, the tragic death of the New York Yankees star, now retired, Brett Gardner, his 14-year-old son Miller, is continuing to baffle stunned fans. The Gardner family was visiting the Arenas del Mar beachfront and rainforest resort in Costa Rica's Pacific coast when he unexpectedly died in his sleep. Preliminary reports from Costa Rica's judicial investigation attributed the death to asphyxiation due to intoxication related to food poisoning, but the investigation is far from complete as they await results of autopsy and toxicology results. Many confused fans were left wondering about the preliminary diagnosis, specifically, what is food intoxication? As explained by the USDA, it's more commonly known as food poisoning and differs from foodborne illnesses, which resulted from eating contaminated food, which was contaminated by harmful bacteria and other pathogens. Food intoxication, on the other hand, is caused by eating the food that contains toxins that are released by pathogens, according to the USDA. The organization adds that the pathogens themselves do not cause the illness. To illustrate the distinction, USDA points to botulism, which is caused by botulism toxins that are not bacteria but will produce it. And while some forms of food poisoning or food intoxication can be mild, there is also a risk of muscle paralysis and even respiratory failure. Significantly, Gardner and his wife Jessica said in announcing their son's death that several other family members had gotten sick during the trip. It remains unclear if others in the group are suffering from foodborne illnesses as a result of consuming bacteria or food intoxication stemming from the ingestions of toxins released by the pathogens. The resort has responded to the Daily Mail's request for comments in a statement writing, "We are deeply saddened by the loss, and our hearts go out to the family during this incredibly difficult time. The factors that led to this tragic incident are unknown, and we are cooperating fully with the authorities as they investigate. We remain committed to supporting our guests and staff, prioritizing their well-being and safety while respecting the privacy of those affected." The resort, located in the rainforest town of Manuel Antonio, boasts direct beach access, offers expert naturalist guides, and stimulating, colorful, and exciting food menu, according to its websites. They're one of the best, apparently, for food in the area. So the resort also employs a dock to dish program where they go from fishing to serving it. Gardner and his wife Jessica announced that the awful news over the weekend, explaining that their son had fallen ill, along with several other family members. The couple confirmed that Miller had passed away peacefully in his sleep on the morning of March 21st. With heavy hearts, we are saddened to announce the passing of our youngest son. He was 14 years old, and he left us far too soon after falling ill, along with several other family members while on vacation. They continued, "We have many questions and so few answers at this point, but we do know that he passed away peacefully in his sleep on the morning of March 21st. So, and this, like I said, is why I didn't really cover it out of respect for the privacy of the family. Um, I didn't know if it was something that really needed to be addressed. All right. Another article I found, I try and find hidden little gems, was cruise passengers have been told to turn off bedroom lights and stay alert as they pass through waters known for piracy. Passengers aboard the Cunard, I guess, luxury cruise liner Queen Anne were warned to stay vigilant while the 113-ton vessel passed through waters known for piracy. A video obtained from user Cruise, I can't pronounce that, for TikTok user, which had racked up more than 8 million views, showed an announcement to passengers as they traveled from Darwin, Australia to Manila in the Philippines through the Sula Celeb Sea. This is an area known for piracy threats. They were told over a loudspeaker in their rooms. As a result, the crews would be operating a heightened level of security of alertness during this period, which included external promenade deck being closed overnight and deck lights to reduce the ship's external lighting. Passengers were also asked to turn off their stateroom lights and keep their curtains drawn. I assure you that measures to prevent any unlikely incident have been well planned, and the likelihood of this happening on a big ship like Queen Anne is absolutely minimal. The announcement continued. As part of the standard maritime procedures, our captains make precautionary announcements when sailing through certain regions, a representative for Cunard told the Business Insider. There was no specific threat to the ship or its guests, and our onboard experiences remained uninterrupted. In a follow-up post, the TikTok user praised the Queen Anne's onboard security rating. So all the blinds were shut and the lights were down to minimum last night. The security did an amazing job keeping watch over the ship last night. Well done, guys. In another video she showed of the cruise sonic cannon, many cruise lines are fitted with a long-range cannon acoustic device, which emits high-pitched targeted noise that repels attackers. And this area has previously been a hotspot for kidnapping and ransom incidents, particularly involving groups such as Abu Sayyaf, a violent Islamic separatist group operating in the southern Philippines. Since March of 2016, Information Sharing Center of the Regional Cooperation Agreement of Combating Piracy, Armed Robbery Against Ships in Asia has reported a total of 86 abductions. The last significant pirate attack on a cruise ship occurred in 2005 and 2009, both of which were successfully able to escape unharmed. The Queen Anne is currently on its maiden voyage, the 111 night trip. Is that right? The 111, good Lord, night trip began in Hamburg, Germany on January 7th, has made stops in England, New York, Hawaii, Mexico, New Zealand, and Australia. The ship will return to Hamburg on April 29th. Boy, I bet that's an expensive cruise. That's just crazy. The ship will return to Hamburg on April 29th after stopping in Vietnam, South Africa, Singapore, and Malaysia. The Independent is the world's most free-thinking news brand, providing global news. This is who I got this from, The Independent, via MSN. But yeah, that's crazy. 111-day cruise. Would you be willing to take the risk? I mean, I almost think I would, but I don't think I could ever afford a cruise like that. Let me catch up in the chat. No, Brenda, there probably won't be a refund since it happens. Chris says nothing says luxury cruise like being huddled in the dark of your room, hoping you survive with all your belongings. Yeah, well, that's true. So, well, they got through unscathed. All right. And I have another article here from Zero Hedge. It seems to be a good website to come up with stories that haven't made mainstream media yet. This one apparently has, though, on News Nation. And News Nation, which appears to be fair and up the middle. Federal officials are targeting the long-running birth tourism industry in California, where Chinese nationals pay baby brokers to ensure their children are born as U.S. citizens. Authorities say pregnant women are often housed in upscale homes and apartments near L.A., dubbed baby farms by local. These illegal operations can charge over $100,000 per pregnancy. This was an industry, said acting U.S. Attorney Joseph McNally, where the criminal enterprises that operated here in the United States are also people in China they would recruit. The organizers were responsible for the birth tourism of thousands of babies, and they had a system in place. He estimates that nearly 30,000 babies were born through these schemes. News Nation reports that hotels and motels across the U.S. have reported an influx of pregnant Chinese women staying for months to give birth on American soil. For wealthier couples, another route is surrogacy, paying American women to carry their child. These babies, born with U.S. citizenships, often return to China immediately after birth. Anytime somebody has a U.S. passport, it means they have access to the United States, warned acting U.S. Attorney Joseph McNally. He cited a case where a baby born in Irvine, I'm assuming Texas, later joined the Chinese military while still holding a U.S. passport. That provides a real national security asset to China and a real problem to the United States. While not illegal, he said the trend is deeply concerning. Farm Czar is the head of the Beverly Hills Surrogacy Agency and said at one point, 90% of his clients were Chinese, with surrogacy packaging costing around $200,000. He defended the practice as it's a misnomer in this field that people are just coming here to be U.S. citizens. I haven't met anyone who had nefarious intentions of having a child. Well, if he's charging $200,000 each, still, the issue has drawn political scrutiny. Representative Harry Hagman, a Republican from Wyoming, said that it was strange and dystopian, added, "We need to be having a national dialogue whether we should be interpreting our laws to be allowing and buying and selling of children essentially or buying or selling of wombs." So that's an interesting story. All right, so we're going to hop back into, I'll come back to news in a little bit. But that was the top headlines I wanted to cover, and we will go straight to our normal wheelhouse. Maybe this will make Jurgs happy. The FEMA Daily Operations Briefing, Tuesday, March 25th of 2025. It was released at 8:30 a.m., although they didn't release it to the media until about an hour ago, maybe a little less. They say that there are no significant incidents or ongoing operations. They are concerned about elevated fire weather in the southeast. We'll discuss that. No new declarations and no new significant events. It goes on to list the Oklahoma wildfires that most are 0% contained. And we reported yesterday that there was, I think, close to 100,000 acres burning. There's only one fire that is 63% contained, and that's Pawnee, Oklahoma. So the fire weather outlook for today is, if you look, it's currently pretty much the Appalachian Mountains on the Carolina side. And then for tomorrow, it will pretty much be all of Arizona, New Mexico, and a clipping portion of Texas. The national weather forecast for today, we'll hit this again. I'm just going to go over this real quickly. This clipper is still coasting along the top of the United States and will bring snow and mixed precipitation to the northeast region, extending into Maine, and then it will continue to go up the coast on Wednesday and hopefully out of here by Thursday, while the next growing concern comes in via the west coast, Seattle. All right, so areas that are worried about heavy rain in Texas along the Gulf of America, and then the fire weather danger in the Appalachian Mountains, and severe weather in the Midwest, while severe weather is also possible in Florida. They're calling for that later in the week. So keep your eyes and ears open. And we can see here, this is FEMA's common operating map. And we see the weather map overlaid with states where they're working on repopulation. And by the way, where they're working on repopulation in the Carolinas, they endured not only all the other things that they had to go through, but they endured a mild earthquake and a massive lightning storm. Those people have had a whole lot to deal with. Thoughts and prayers are with them. So, and this is the day they give all their technical data. You can find this on disastercenter.com and read the entire report yourself. If you're a numbers junkie, you will love it. So I'm more of a weather nerd, I guess. So Chris says, if I'm a wildfire, I avoid Brenda and I'll find somewhere else just for my own safety. Beyond the Box says that she's going to have to go rescue Warren. Warren is one of our part-time cast members on the Para Art Normal Guys. So, all right. So we look at the schedule for today for the president. He called the in-pool call time is 9 a.m. That's normal. The president and vice president are going to have lunch in a closed press private dining area. That occurred at noon 30. And at 2 o'clock today, in closed press, more executive orders will be signed. So, yeah. All right. Yesterday, after we left, there was nothing really new that occurred in the president's schedule. And by 6 p.m., they called a full lid, which means they closed the White House down to all access. So I assume the president was gone to his private residency at that time. All right. So since I like to do this because sometimes the FEMA one is a little delayed, not always. It should, but occasionally. So we talked about the weather forecast that Clipper is going to skirt across the top of the country. We're going to see mixed precipitation in Montana. However, the New England area back over to Michigan is going to get a mixed bag from everything from snow to freezing rain. It's going to extend southward into the Ohio Valley and a little bit into the Midwest with some mixed precipitation today. And they're calling for mixed precipitations in the higher elevations of the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee, North Carolina, and rain in Virginia and North Carolina, with some potential for severe weather and thunderstorms in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana too. And that'll be extending southward as we go through the week. And tomorrow we see that potential for significant weather does, and in fact, include most of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi. It will continue to skirt southward, southeast, and cause a problem for us later in the week here in the South. And we start to pick up a new weather pattern, a high coming out of, it's a high, they're high. It's coming off of the Pacific coast in a southeasterly direction, and it's going to bring some thunderstorms and rain to Washington and Oregon. And so some higher elevations will get mixed bag of fun. So, and then on day 3, which is the 27th, we're concerned about heavy rain and flooding along the Texas coastline of the Gulf of America and severe weather to outbreak anywhere from south of the border almost to the top of the Canadian border. It's broken up there by Michigan, where they're going to get that mixed bag. And there's a little bit lingering from that skipper going across the top of the country there. That's going to affect the tip of Vermont, New York, and Canada, probably Buffalo to Montpelier back to the Canadian border. While the new front is continuing across the Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana region, and it will be bringing heavy snow and heavy rain to higher elevations in North Dakota and Minnesota. So keep that in mind as they're expecting some rain along the southern coast of California, none extending down into Northern California to help them. So that's the 3-day outlook. And we want to go to our friends down under because we are live on Radio X and talk about their weather. Currently live, let me refresh this. It looks like there is nothing significant, and this is on zoom.earth, nothing significant besides for cloudiness over the Queensland radar, or Queensland's area. Let's bring up the radar, and we see that there's some mixed bag of snow with some severe storms there in Queensland along the Brisbane coast, extending westward into and southward down to New South Wales, some very light precipitation. So it looks like it's going to pretty much be Queensland, and that's an area we're concerned about because of the flooding. So hopefully it won't be too bad. But they are expecting some severe weather in heavy rain up to maybe half to a third of an inch of rain. So the wind conditions will continue to swirl coming from the east to the west with a little trough there in the middle, right at the Queensland Northern Territory border that's causing that heavy rain. So temperatures today, well, It looks like it's going to be another hot one for Western Australia. Over in Queensland, it's going to be in the 80s. Wow, they're going to almost hit triple digits over in Western. In Southern Australia, it won't be much different. And down in Melbourne, New South Wales area, they're going to be in the high 90s, while the Northern Territory, claiming to be the coolest area, at about 86. So if you look at what it feels like, pretty much Western Australia, it feels like it's almost 100. I'm sorry, guys. Uh, Queensland's the only area where it appears to be a little cooler, where it appears to be 72 Fahrenheit. So, all right. And we'll jump back to our National Weather Service. Let's see. Let me catch up in the chat too here real quick. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Click in the wrong place. You never know where you're going. Let's hit this button here. All right, let's catch up in the chat here. Well, Chris Brenda is, or Beyond the Box is a Texan. And Chris says Montana looks abnormally large on this map to me. Like and subscribe and see what I'm talking about. Yes. And Beyond the Box says that she hopes that Yergs doesn't get too much rain. So the National Weather Service, we'll pull up the weather warnings here in a few minutes, probably these gale warnings along the Washington, Oregon, and Southern California coastline, where it's going to be in the higher elevations, they're going to have a little bit of wet precipitation, a mixed bag. If you look over towards the Midwest, you see a little bit of light rain in the fire weather warning along the Appalachians Mountains in the Gulf of America on the Texas border is going to have some flooding coming up. Most of that nasty weather is going out through the Northeast, pushing out through Ottawa, Vermont, Buffalo, and it'll extend a little bit more eastward over Maine. I should stop hitting that button, shouldn't I? All right. So we kind of talked about this already, but we'll bring it up again. This also shows us on Weather Underground where some of the fires are in Australia. So we get a better picture of our friends down under. They're having some fires in Western Australia along the border, the ocean border there on the west coast, and in Perth in Southern Australia. They're not really experiencing any. Where the Northern Territory, they have a few, but down in New South Wales, they have several. We can play their radar. That would be cool. We will see the storms moving inland over Queensland. Boy, it's moving slow and picking up a little bit as it comes and skirts across and hits that little trough there at the Northern Territory of Queensland and South Australia. So, all right, well, it's not really moving. And we will talk about the cyclone, but it is moving well off. Yes, I do, Brenda. We will talk about that off the show, but yes, I do. All right, so we'll talk about this cyclone here in a bit, but it's moving off of the coastline and not going to affect anyone. Now, there was some other weather concerns for Window, you'll like this, for a possible tsunami, but those fears have been quelled. A 6.7 magnitude earthquake strikes between Australia and New Zealand off the coast of New Zealand's South Island. Thousands felt the impact. It was 6.7 and has sparked fears of a possible tsunami. It occurred at 2:42 p.m., and that's their time, on Tuesday at a depth of 12 kilometers, about 160 kilometers northwest of the Snares Island. It was felt by thousands in the vicinity on the mainland. New Zealand National Emergency Management Agency urged residents in nearby regions to stay clear of beaches. Residents of Southland and Fiordland should stay away from the beaches and marine areas, as strong and unusual currents may present a danger, the alert read. Strong currents and surges can injure and drown people. There is a danger to swimmers, surfers, and people fishing. Anyone in or near the waters close to shore. People in or near those areas should avoid it. There is no official evacuation order or warning for those areas. However, authorities have urged residents to self-evacuate in the case of immediately known from places along the coast or generated and actually arrive. So evacuate immediately evacuation zones are as far inland as possible. And we see for Australia, they had actually put a quick and brief tsunami warning up, but it was canceled according to the Bureau of Meteorology. There is no threat to Australia. All right. So, everybody, if you're in New Zealand and you felt it, you should probably, if you felt it, it was difficult to stand, you should probably seek shelter in a different location. All right. We'll go to weather warnings real quick. This is courtesy of our friends at Weather Warning. Once again, I'm not affiliated. I just like their site, and you're welcome to go over there and check out their sites. And yes, Brenda, that was a very large one. All right, so Miami-Dade, Florida. We're going to look at the lightning potential down there. There's a severe thunderstorm warning. It's going to extend all the way down to into almost all the way through the Keys. And Andy is sending up his test messages again. I don't get it. A hydrological outlook, and this is for Nevada, where high pressure builds across the Grand Basin at the beginning of the week to record warm high temperatures. This will increase to help melt high elevation snowpack, which make it into an area of creeks and streams and creeks swelling and will need to be watched for higher flows. And they go on to name the specific ones. They'll be flowing strongly and urge residents to use caution when walking along near riverbanks where there is running water. That is Nevada. All right. And small craft warnings. These are all like we talked about along the western coastline in Alaska. And a special weather statement was issued in the Miami-Dade area, where we know now that there are some intense storms. Oregon and Washington had a dense fog advisory. Illinois, Chris and Clay, Illinois, there was a flood warning. And we get an air quality alert. We'll go over that here in a few minutes. And flood warnings in Louisiana, Texas, along the Gulf of America. And of course, you can go check this site out and look at any specific ones near you. But it's a great site. As we get into the older ones, there's some other things that go on here. But Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina are under a special weather statement. That means the potential for storms is there, and as well as Maryland, D.C., Virginia, and West Virginia. All right, so this is a great site. Go check it out. I recommend it. They also provide over here activity where current storms are. We can see on the radar down there on the tip of Florida, just the tip. And you can see where the strong potential for thunderstorms is, as we discussed, and the chances for elevated wind, which we will get to, is pretty much here in the Texas-Oklahoma border. And it doesn't look like there's any chance today of any tornadic activity, just strong storms. All right, speaking of wind and air quality, we bring up the map. This map is of the air quality in the United States. And we look and see that the worst area is right there at the Kansas City, Arkansas, Kansas border. They have very, very poor air. And that extends down towards more moderate, pretty much all of Texas, along the coastline in the Gulf of America of Texas, back over the south of the border, continuing westwardly towards Tucson, San Diego, where it's spotty and intermittent, and up in, what is this area? Northeast in the Okaloosa National Forest. I'm get this probably smoke coming from Alaskan Canadian fires. It's elevated there. Chris, it looks like your air quality will be good. I'm missing the chat here. Susie's going to hit with that. Yes, that's correct. And you'll be here by 6:30. Brenda, if you actually show up, we'll go buy ribs. So in the air quality, pretty much for all of Florida, Jackson, all the way down to the Keys and surrounding back up to the Gulf of America. Pretty much all of Florida is having some moderate air quality that they need to be concerned about. And that is also probably due to fires, which we'll discuss here in a minute. And our first wind map that we bring up is obviously windmap.com. This shows the United States wind map. We'll get to our favorite here in a minute that everybody loves. Brenda, I don't know if you've seen our wind map. It's impressive. You want me to cook for you, Brenda? If you want me to cook for you, it's probably going to be something simple like hot dogs. I'm running on Mountain Dew and nicotine at this point. So as we look at the wind map, this is the United States only. We see that the maximum wind gust at this time is 28. That's probably up around the Windy City in Chicago and in Denver, where that trough comes down from Canada, and that little skipper is skirting across the New England coastline and making its way out is where most of the wind is. And it's in a southwesterly flow, pretty much in Texas, Oklahoma, coming back off of the Rockies. And it's relatively still on the west coast. All right, we will pull up a bigger map and see what we got. All right, real-time map, we bring this one up. This is current storms and where the nasty stuff is. And it looks like, as we talked about, Miami is getting hit. Each of these little dots represents active lightning. So looks like down in Homestead, Miami, South Beach, extending almost into the Keys, probably Key Largo. They're getting hit with some pretty significant thunder right now. I'm sorry, thunder and lightning. Brenda says she will bring ones. Well, you might need more than ones. It's been a tough week. So all of that is pushing off of the coast of Florida out into the Atlantic. And you see that little front there is kind of nasty over the ocean, but it's really not affecting anyone. I don't even think Bermuda will be, well, Bermuda may be affected by it later in the week, but it's probably not going to keep enough energy to affect them. If you're down in the Caribbean, it only looks like maybe Nassau. Some of the Bahamas are going to see some lightning. And Puerto Rico, it looks as though your chances are pretty minimal for heavy lightning. So Guantanamo Bay, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm sorry, I wasn't Puerto Rico, was it? Guantanamo Bay, that looks like they're going to have a good day to keep the prisoners in. So, all right, so that is the lightning map. Was that the, I don't know. I'm not even gonna bother. All right, here's the fan favorite. You can come check this out if you are listening to us on Yerg's Radio. Brenda says she loves it, but she can't live there. Well, it's somebody's got to live everywhere. You can come over and check out on the Para R Normal Guys. That's Para R Normal Guys spelled with a Z, 3 different words. And this is a fan favorite. It is a AI 3D. Well, it's not really 3D, but it's an AI generation of current wind activity. And we can pull up the nice blue globe and see where the winds are blowing along the globe. And we can see that mostly in the US, it's relatively mild, as we discussed. There's a little front. Oh, there's a little front out in the Bay of Alaska that's going to be kind of going westwardly throughout the week, with that front coming in along that's going to push that smaller front into Seattle. And we see off of the New England coastline, Nova Scotia, the wind is pushing outward, and there doesn't appear to be in the Atlantic region anything that the National Hurricane Center is concerned about. We'll spin the globe and we'll go down under into Australia and check out our friends down there. And we see that little path coming in over Queensland, extending out and over into the Northern Territories, is pretty much the main wind, while it'll be breezy in Western Australia. That cyclone will continue to do its little thing, but it will be going in a westerly manner and will not bother anyone. So, and just so that we make others happy, let's see if I can do this here. Is it there? So we make other people happy so that they're not concerned with it being a globe per se. You know, some people get edgy about those things. You can see the entire Earth in a flat plane map with the view of the wind pattern. South of the equator shows where the winds are in the lower half of the globe, and above the equator it shows on the flat plane map where they are in the areas north of the equator. Now on this map we can also pull up currents and show where the current tides or currents are and how the waves are actually flowing in all the oceans on the globe. Or as some people in the chat like to call it, the magic 8 ball. But I like to keep everyone happy. Let's see. Chris says, you know where Queensland is now without any markings on the map. It's impressive. I am learning. I am learning. I will admit, I am not a meteorologist, but I probably get it right 50% of the time. So I could be right. I mean, in real life, I could be, but I don't claim to be one. I just read this stuff. I just read it. It's just one of those things. Uh, Oh, look, we have another view of the globe, and this one shows the cloud cover on the globe and basically talking about the little fronts and winds that we talked about. It's just a real time image of what's going on around the globe. If you'll notice, it's even separated nice and conveniently with daylight and night. So, look, the magic 8 ball is split in half there beyond the box. Australia, you're going to have the cloud cover, and Queensland extending westernly with the spotty rains. But this is if you want to go to the NOAA weather website, you can see the world in real time. So I haven't played with this enough because I haven't had time to see what other things we can do besides for cloud cover. But I'm just fascinated that I can spin the globe on my own. So all right, we're going to get into something else here. We're going to talk about, we looked at the winds. This is not discussing so much the fires as we're discussing. And by the way, it's top of the hour, and I missed to tell everyone, you can find me here on Radio X in Australia. I'm on Yerg's Radio and the Rainbow Radio Network. And you can also find this replayed on any of your local or whatever source you use for podcasts. It will be distributed within the next 24 hours on Spotify. You can check it out there if you don't want to watch me and just want to listen. You can also come over and find me at the Para Are Normal Guys. 3 words. Guys is spelled Guyz. I use a Z to distinct me from other shows, but you could also just search out the Sportcat shows or Sportcat's Daily Gazette. I'm here from 1 to 3 every day. All right, we'll talk about the fires and the severity here in a minute. This I wanted to bring up more so because of the smoke map. We see that there are many fires burning the Texas border with Louisiana and Arkansas, and poor Oklahoma is still going through so many fires. And we will see how there has been some sparked out in the Appalachian region here in just a moment. And we still have the fires burning down in South Florida. So we'll go over that here in just a second. But this I wanted to bring up mainly for the smoke map and show where the smoke is pushing. And you can see we talked about the air quality up here earlier. We're talking about Vancouver extending down into Seattle. The air quality is significantly impacted by the fires burning in Edmonton. So it's pushing the winds southerly over Washington. All right, so here is our fire map from the U.S. Forestry Service, and this gives us a better graphic. Now, if you have not seen this map, let me explain. The red dots are not necessarily confirmed fires. They have either been reported or the satellite has spotted them, and they haven't got boots on the ground yet to investigate as to what they are. So the red dots are places that they're investigating. You can see where that storm went through earlier in the week, pretty much splitting the country in half, where we talked about that dry area. There's a lot of reports and probably small fires, but if we zoom in on Oklahoma, you are just getting your ass kicked right now with fires and dry weather. I hope that it improves for you soon, but so far they are fighting hard to get the fires contained. We see over New Mexico that small fire yesterday is now grown slightly, and down along the Houston area, or in the Houston area, there is a fire burning down there, the Pauline Road fire. Well, let's see. We'll skip up here. We'll go over to Maryland. And right now, there doesn't appear to be any significant fires. There's a bunch reported as we look in the Appalachian Mountains. Pretty much you can almost go to see where that storm front stops there in Binghamton along the mountains. State College area, there's been a fire reported, and it starts to get a little bit heavier as we get into West Virginia with the reports. But we will see as they extend down into the Carolina region, they have already picked up some severe fire activity. And that is the area today of special concern. They already have these fires. They're trying to contain them, but the dry weather and winds there is making a difficult situation. Here where I'm at in Knoxville, there's been several small brush fires, some out by me even. If you go down into Georgia, there's been several there that they've had to fight in the Atlanta metro area. And if we hop over towards Wendell, down in Auburn area, there's been a several. That looks like they got the ones in Anniston contained, but now in Man Camp, there appears to be a working fire in the Talladega National Forest that they're working to contain. And we'll look over here at the coastline of the Carolinas. Looks like they've contained it pretty much to the Wilmington area from where it had burned so badly. It takes a long time to get these fires contained. Orlando, north and east of you, is having some fire activity, but down in the Homestead area, right where you go to Route 1 down into the Keys, that area has been a danger zone. And so far, 26,719 acres, which is 41.75 miles square, is burning, and it's still hardly contained at all. They have managed to get it off of the roadway so you can go to and fro in the Keys, and we saw the winds were not causing interference there to close that out. And that is all that this map covers because it does not extend further south. So you can look there. This is the U.S. Forestry's map showing what's going on in real-time data. And you see like this little dot here. This could be an oil rig letting off excess gas. You just don't know. It has been reported, but nothing there down in the Gulf of America. We would hardly doubt there's a fire. I mean, there could be a significant fire. It could be an oil rig or something, but it could be also them just blowing off gas. So it's measuring temperature, and they also spot optically for flames. All right, so we're going to discuss allergies, my favorite topic. Because, well, it is sucked pretty much across most of the country, from the Rockies eastwardly in a straight line covering all the way into DC up to almost Pennsylvania. And it's gotten light where it's starting to get warmer, but here in the South, well, if you go outside, the sky is yellow. And as you go further south, the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas, parts of Texas, yeah, it's the tree pollen is horrible. It's yellow outside. So the weed pollen hasn't really affected us as of yet, but never fear, it will come back soon and it will get us. But the weed pollen has not gotten us yet. And the grass pollen is, well, what's the difference between a weed and grass pollen? I don't understand the difference, but at any rate, we see there pretty much the same areas where it's starting to get warm through the south is where it's pushing down further southwardly, and the grass pollen is affecting everyone. So yeah. The breathing index map really shows, yes, I am. No thanks. Leave me alone. We really see the breathing index only in parts of probably metro Atlanta, and along the Carolina coastline is it really bad, and in Texas, pretty much central part of the state. Over on the California side, well, your breathing index is pretty bad, pretty much from Southern California down to the border. And let's see. We did have this aches and pains map, which I don't really understand, but we'll show it. It shows that today's aches and pains are pretty much going to be the Appalachia area, extending towards the coastline, and a little bit of Texas, Oklahoma, is it New Mexico, extending northwardly over to the border, and in west, you'll have your aches and pains indexes higher. I don't even know what that means. So I just like to show the map. So okay, this is the event list for disasters, emergencies, and all kinds of bad things. We try and only cover recent things. We've talked about things in the past, like we've had the caterpillar, and then we had the ants and mosquitoes. So we will try and only cover things that are recent. Of course, we know the bird flu is starting to be a real significant incident. Critical infrastructure is still a problem in Haiti, and there doesn't appear to be any security conflicts during public safety incidents. A flammable device was found at a Tesla dealership in Austin. Go figure. So that's breaking news for a public safety incident. We'll pull the article up. Austin police say they're investigating several incendiary devices found at a Tesla dealership Monday on the city's north side, the latest in a series of events targeting the company owned by the billionaire Elon Musk. Austin police, responding to a report of a hazardous materials, found the devices and called in the city's bomb squad, which which took them into police custody without incident. Okay, the city's bomb squad, which took them into police custody without incident. Not sure if they're talking about the bombs or people. According to the AP, there are no reports of injury or damage. It's an open and ongoing investigation. There's no further information to release. And of course, this goes on to talk about the problems that the Tesla company and its CEO are having right now with people threatening them. We won't even go there. Denise, we'll get there. We'll get there. Maybe you should be glad that it's happened. North Macedonia, thousands of protesters demand justice over a nightclub fire. We covered that a few weeks ago, and there were several. I don't remember the exact count. We'd have to go over it. Well, I guess we can pull the article up. But yeah, there's protesters are lining the streets demanding justice over the nightclub fire. We talked about this. 13 people have been arrested in the corruption probe into the fire, which killed 59 and injured dozens. We talked about how they were flown out. Thousands of protesters have lined the streets in North Macedonia to demand justice over the fire that killed 59 and injured more than 150. Demonstrators marched past government offices and the parliament in the capital on Monday and applauded medical staff, and hospital staff for the response to the tragedy. Some of the protesters held a banner that read, "The system is next." The deadly fire that erupted in the eastern town of Kakoni on 16 March occurred while a pyrotechnics display was being used in an indoor venue, a nightclub. And we've had a similar thing happen in the States here in the White Snake. It was in the 80s, right? I think, or early 90s. So anyhow, protesters are taking to the street and they're very angry and they want the government to be held responsible. I don't blame them. All right, we will continue onward and see if we have anything else new to report. We talked about that already. And a new fuel oil emissions has been found along the Black Sea in the Russian Federation. And post-flood cleanup continues in Malaysia for 500 tons of waste. All right. And in the Czech Republic, an explosions at an ammunition warehouse injured one. In the Russian Federation, gas explosions ripped through an apartment building and a mobile phone store in Dagestan. In India, a cooking gas cylinder caught fire and exploded in Mumbai. And in Italy, a man was seriously injured after a blast. We covered that one already. In the United States, an abandoned sugar mill factory has been burning since Tuesday. Or was that? I don't remember covering that story. Let's see. An abandoned sugar mill factory near Longmont caught fire after midnight on Tuesday, according to the Boulder County Sheriff's Office. So it's in Colorado. Hazardous materials and weather conditions. The Boulder County office and the firefighters will not actively fight the fire and instead let it burn. A lot of times that's what we do. We let it burn out. I know that poses an environmental. I'm sorry, Chris, you're right. It was Great White. It does cause an environmental issue, but there's no chance to damage any life or further property a lot of times if we let it burn off, and it lessens our danger of getting injured. A lot of people don't understand that the dust in a lot of these places can become explosive under the right conditions. So it's been burning since midnight on Tuesday, and apparently the properties has had several fires going back to 2017. So in that time, they did basically the same thing. And if we look on the map, it is in the northeastern corner of Boulder. So that was what was happening there. And in Malaysia, fire destroys illegal fishing jetties in Saskatchewan. And let's see, this is a new fire. Australia, massive building fire erupts at laundromat in Sydney. Let's pull that story up because we'd like to talk about this. Authorities have issued a health alert after an enormous blaze that incinerated a laundromat in Western Sydney. And I'm sure for our Radio X listeners, they probably laugh at my pronunciation and enunciation, me being so Southern. So shoot me a message. You can send me an email at sportcat@protonmail.com, or you can shoot me a message. Hell, I'll play it on either my radio show on Thin Line Rock Station or here on the Daily Gazette, speakpipe.com/sportcat. I would love to hear from you. And it's okay if you're bitching and complaining about how I can't pronounce things and I'm a Southern redneck. It's okay. I'm okay with that. So anyhow, authorities have issued a health alert after an enormous blaze that incinerated a laundromat in Western Sydney and threatened nearby buildings. It was brought under control by emergency services fire and rescue, and they've advised that they want the residents in the North Parramatta residents to stay indoors, keep windows and vents closed due to smoke in the area after the eruption on the fire on Dunlop Street after 1 a.m. on Tuesday. More than 100 firefighters and 30 fire trucks formed part of the emergency response, which escalated to the highest category available. Here in the States, we call that alarms. One alarm brings so many engines, the second alarm brings so many more. So if it brought 30, it was probably a 5-alarm fire. So they tried to gain access to the building, but kept getting pushed back by intense flames. Yes, that happens, and that's what we try and do, but sometimes it's difficult. Several nearby residents were evacuated at the Inferno and at threatened neighborhood buildings, including a veterinarian surgery with at least 3 puppies, including one who had just had surgery a day earlier, but they were evacuated. Alongside an overnight vet nurse superintendent said the animals were visibly distressed at the disturbance, with several of them waking up out of their anesthesia. He said firefighters assisted the nurse in getting the animals to safety on the other side of the road. Emergency services were able to get animals and the nurse back into the clinic once the fire was contained. Good. They probably helped with supplemental oxygen, things like that. It was a deep-seated fire and a heavy fire, and they're still investigating what caused the incident. So they said that certain streets are still closed, and Church Street northbound is still closed, and motorists are advised to take alternate routes. All right, so that is in Sydney. Did I say that right? Yeah. All right, let's see what we got. I did a report on the Thin Line Rock Station out of Georgia, Smyrna, Georgia. Firefighters rescued 6 puppies, and the mother dog had laid herself on them during the blaze. They rescued 6 puppies and the mothers. They revived the puppies without incident with just some oxygen, but the mother, however, despite life-saving efforts, they could not. Well, the animals were taken into the local department's animal shelter, and there they were evaluated by a veterinarian, treated. They hadn't had their eyes open until they got a visit from the Smyrna Fire Department. And one of the off-duty firefighters had his 2 children with him, and they went home with one of the puppies. Several other Smyrna firefighters were reportedly interested, but they didn't comment if they were going to adopt the puppies. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, so let's see what else is new. Laos has had several big outdoor fires in Asia, Romania, Sudan, South Korea, and the Central Africa have been large areas. In North Pacific Ocean, we reported on several earthquakes, 4.0 in the North Pacific, 2 of them near Mexico. In North America, actually 3 of them. So in Bengal in Asia, they had a 5.0. The North Pacific had another 4.0 down in the Gulf of America, and we reported on the other larger one off of the coast of New Zealand. In South Korea, a motorcyclist killed by a giant sinkhole. Well, be careful of sinkholes. No new volcanic eruptions and no new hydrological issues. The Tasman Sea off the west coast of South Inland New Zealand is having one tsunami threat, but we remember that was not a threat. They canceled that. Fire breaks out in a co-op refinery and an explosion felt in Canada, in North America. Republic of China, we talked about that the other day, a building collapse. Egypt, stampede kills child at Luxor Mosque after a false fire alarm. And overnight in Australia, the red ant population has sent 23 people to the hospital. And in India, 2 were dead. And we talked about this in the fire. And yeah, that red ant population in Australia has sent many to the hospital. Nothing new to report on air traffic incidents. Let's see. 3 workers were crushed to death by road roller in India. Assuming the road roller is what, the steamroller, I guess, the one that flattens the ground. Let's see here. What else we got? Nepal, 17 were injured. We talked about that in the Jeep because I was trying to figure out how you get 20 some people in a Jeep. Let's see. The cyclone still spins out and is not causing any issues. And the drought is continuing for various parts of the world. Heavy rain is expected in Bolivia, Argentina, South America, and Italy, Bolivia, Colombia, Ethiopia, and parts of Australia. We talked about severe lightning, but in other parts of the world, in Serbia, Argentina, Italy, Namibia, Paraguay, they're also going to have some problems, along with Kenya, Colombia, and other parts of India. We talked about thick smoke the other day. Well, it's affected Canada in the northwestern region and some parts of the Russian Federation, as well as Argentina and Chile. Severe weather in India, that's an old story. In Tanzania, they have had some severe storms, along with Antarctica. Interesting. Let's pull up the Antarctica one. I always like to read about stories up there. At Base Carlini, they have got some severe weather. What does it? Doesn't really say. It just shows where it's at. I thought it would give us a little story on it. Okay, well, that's fine too. We'll carry on. And that is pretty much for that. And close these windows. All right, Denise, you wanted to see if anything happened in your area? Well, no, it doesn't look like it's made anything here on the event map. This is live events and news of what's going on, and we look at things that are covered. And all right, that was 5 days ago. I'm looking for more current things. 8 days ago, this map hasn't updated. This was a great map yesterday. What happened? Yeah. Go away. Zoom out. All right. 6 days ago. We only like to talk about current events. Can I bring this up to where it's most recent stuff? Because that's really what we want to talk about. Zoom out. Well, not zoom out that far. 6 days ago, 7 days ago. Yeah, this the other day had much more current articles than it does today. But, okay. Well, we'll follow this website and see. It looks like Kentucky. Select region. Well, the United States. How about that? Do we have that area? Choice USA. Maybe I need to just update the whole thing. There we go. What the heck? All right, now we have some news. All right, so let's talk about some things. Denise wants to know what's going on in her area. Let's hop over here and see if anything's going on. Well, Denise, 7 hours ago, there was a stabbing in Manhattan. I know that's not exactly nearby. Brooklyn had a fire, and up in Manchester, they are investigating a fatal pedestrian crash over the coast of Maine. Person fatally struck by a train. So it looks like your area is relatively unscathed, Denise. Let's hop down here to Philadelphia. What do we have? In Philadelphia, 6 hours ago, police have identified 2 brothers who were killed when their vehicle struck a barrier on 95. And what is this? Video shows firefighters battling a blaze at a North Philadelphia church. All right. Andy, you're in the clear. Let's hop in here in KG0. Well, Andy may not be totally clear. Gas station and entering in New Hampshire Avenue, Tacoma Park shattered. Unknown yet what was taken. Okay. That must be a breaking and entering. That's in Washington, D.C. And Metropolitan Police are searching for 5 suspects who involved in an ATM heist. They were armed with rifles and driving a white Ford Dually. All right. And down in Suitland, what's going on over there? A man shot in the Coral Hills area of Maryland. And what are these alerts here in D.C.? CIA Director Ratcliffe claimed they have not precipitated any messaging. Oh, this is all going to be related to that, I bet. Baltic ministers meet with Sec Rubio at the Secretary of State's office, and the White House is investigating how the reporter was added. Well, it seems pretty simple. Down in Northern Virginia, shots fired. Where is that area? That's close to home. It's Dale City. All right. Well, that's interesting. Go down into the Carolinas and see. This appears to be a crash involving a school bus. Well, that's concerning. That was 13 hours ago. And Lexington police, and this is in the Carolinas, search for a suspect who shot a woman in the back at Finch Park. And apparently a woman is charged with murder for fatally stabbing in Southeast Charlotte. We talked about the fires. They're reporting on them. The Carolinas battle multiple wildfires as New Jersey contains their blazes. And some of the northeastern areas sent down help to the Carolinas. Over 5,000 acres have burned in South Carolina, and it's still going on. Table Rock and Covington. And go to Atlanta. There's always something happening down there. A 17-year-old boy was killed at a birthday party in Beaufort. That's not far from where I live. And a reported armed woman has barricaded herself inside of a door of a home. Well, I have an interesting story about Dorval and being barricaded in a home. Well, I was a paramedic. And let's see. Firefighters quickly extinguished a house fire that broke out early Tuesday morning in Fairbird. Well, that's near. I'm sure my old department was probably there. Chris, let's hop up to your part of the world, see what's going on. We're going to be short on time, so we won't cover all of these. Well, I'm just going to guess that these are guns, crimes, stabbing crimes, and what is this one? Up in Chicago, gang members. I want to know who reported this. 6500 block of North Sayre, a call of gang members doing gang shit. Anonymous caller says 10 gang members are shoving each other and arguing, doing gang shit. Chris, what do you got to say about that? I've never seen one that they're doing gang shit. All right. Let's see. The fire across the hall to 6500 block of Elk Drive, and a possible whole apartment building that is in the Cincinnati region, down where, let's see, we'll go down where Amanda lives. One person was taken to the hospital Tuesday after they responded to a house fire in Lexington. Knoxville, you're in the clear. Oh, Nashville, Memphis, it looks like you continue with gun violence. Down into Mississippi. Brenda, let's see what's happening near you. Let's see, where are you at, Brenda? You're somewhere on here. And let's see, we'll just hop in here. Austin firefighters on scene with vehicle rollover, multiple people inside. All right, that was in Austin. This is in San Diego. It's a little bit away from me. 2 people injured after jumping from a burning apartment building that was intentionally set after a man locked a woman inside the unit. She jumped from a window, and another person jumped from a balcony. Wonder if they have any gang ties and if they were doing any gang shit. I love that. Police on scene of an accident involving a school bus off, I guess that's WW White Road in Southeast Military Drive. That's in San Antonio. Brenda, I think you're in the clear there. I don't see anything for your area. We'll hop up into Salt Lake City. We don't see much up there. A brush fire is being fought along the Jordan River Trail. A power substation has caught fire, but this area burns several times a year. They have multiple resources on it, and it is about out. Interesting that it's near a power substation. Down in Los Angeles, we see there's still several fires and police incidents, anything from shots fired to B&E. And up in San Francisco, pretty much the same things. 1 injured, 1 detained after a stabbing in Sacramento. Up in Seattle, let's see what happened up there. They're investigating a DOA in the 1300 block of South Jackson Street. All right. And in Albany and Portland area of, just west of Portland. Just south of Portland. A mother of a 16-year-old girl was killed in a car crash. And Staten is calling for justice in the case of a man accused of DUI manslaughter and providing alcohol to minors. Well, as they should. So, yeah, Chris, I've never seen a report like that. Uh, well, beyond the box, Brenda, I'm sure it just hasn't been reported, but yeah, Chris, that's great. I've never seen a report like that. In all my time of reporting these type of incidents, I've never seen. I- I've heard stuff or seen stuff typed on the CAD systems we use at dispatch, but I've never actually heard it reported that way to the media. Doing gang shit. I hope I can say gang shit on the air because I just did. All right. We will jump over to the New England FireNet and see if there's anything happening in Denise's section of the world. In Johnson, Rhode Island, they had a two-alarm fire showing from the first and second floors of a two-story wood frame dwelling. And let's see, there's an armed robbery in Washington, D.C. They were looking for a perp that robbed a liquor store. Unknown proceeds, five males, blacked all armed, fled in a pickup truck in an unknown direction of travel. Wonder if that was the same ones that took off with an ATM machine. How do you take an ATM machine? Dallas, where Brenda is down near there was a fire in a large one-story commercial building. It's been brought under control. In Worcester, they had a working fire early this morning, and it was a two-story occupied multi-use dwelling, which means it's businesses on the bottom, apartments on the top. They requested Red Cross to help with 9 people. Yeah, exactly. It was just the way it read. In East Pennsboro Township in Pennsylvania, they had a fire in a two-story wood frame dwelling overnight, about 3 in the morning. And in Queens, armed robbery in Francis Lewis Boulevard, NYPD is on scene of a strong armed robbery, and they're looking for a male that fled on an unknown direction of travel, and they pretty much sealed off an area. And let's see, it's a search for the males that were involved in the robbery. Cambridge, had a fire, and at 1:43, it was brought under control. Apparently, it was a basement fire that started in a 2.5-story wood frame dwelling. Basement fires are hard to fight. Let's see. Atlanta overnight, right after midnight, at 3315 Peachtree Street, Northeast, Great American Hotel, fire in a 23-story commercial building. I'm sure that the sprinkler system in Atlanta Fire got on that pretty quick. Milford, Connecticut, they had a fire in a one-story residential, but it's all been knocked down, and they checked to make sure that they were safe. Bangor had a fire in a large two-story, this is overnight, wood frame dwelling, and that's in Maine. New Haven, Connecticut, well, they had a fire in 1 and 2 stories, one floors 1 and 2 of a 2.5-story wood frame under construction. Those fires suck because you don't know if the building is under control. Let's see. And we end with yesterday afternoon after we got off the air. In Coweta County, Grady Smith Street and Industrial Way, fire in a large warehouse on the D side. And the way you look at a building is the front is A, Alpha, to the left is B, Bravo, the back is C, Charlie, and the right side of the building is D as in Delta. So I wish I could find a way of reporting for fires and incidents in our friends down under, but I have not found. And if anyone knows of one, please let me know. I would love to. I would love to report on emergency services and public safety type activity. So if anybody knows of a site, let me know. All right. So this we looked at. We're going to see up here in Alaska. They're still doing some kind of space operations. I don't understand this. This has been going on now for 17 days. All right. We look and see there's flight restrictions, obviously, around Washington, D.C. area. We see that there's some significant it's a meteorological event. Turbulence off the East Coast, good Lord, and down south of Florida, Southwest Florida, some turbulence. Other no-fly zones, I don't see anything that jumps out in particular. That looks a little bit odd. And what is this? This is down where where is this? They've restricted to national defense base Uh, Fort Bliss, I assume that's near you, Brenda. They've got restricted airspace, so they must be doing some training down there. And this is only for the United States. I do not have one for the world. You can see the little blue dots are either significant meteorological events, and well, thank you, Brenda. I appreciate that. Are there areas that are blocked for unmanned aerials? Space operations. All right, what's this about? This is off the coast of Santa Maria. Where the heck is this? Just northwest of Los Angeles. This was issued today at Zulu time for space operations. What is going on with that? Space operations off of the west coast, off of the coast of Alaska. And let's see, Beale Air Force Base, temporary flight restrictions, and if I was OTAM, yeah, you can't go in. I wonder if that's got anything to do with space. that's, that's interesting. All right, we'll just hop up here and look at this. Let's see here. Ah, okay. They've already got it. We were going to talk about that. They're already starting to put up flight restrictions for areas, not only for drones, but for commercial and civilian aircraft over a baseball game. But apparently, this will be the opening baseball game. Oh, they've already sealed it for the media, but for the Tigers at the Giants game. So we're going to start seeing a bunch of those pop up. For security, they seal off an area around significant events with the public. It's probably going to be the opening day game. I was going to pull the schedule up and look and see which was going to be the schedule, but haven't had a chance to get to it yet. All right, so we covered all that. And last map I like to bring up, and this currently, as we talked about yesterday, is our cyber threat real-time map. And you can see, if you can follow it along down here, the red are attacks. It looks like they're attacking, I would say that's probably Denver or Houston, if I had to guess. And you can see the orange are infections they're sending, and most of these are coming from Russia, or sometimes in Asian countries aimed at the United States. And then you can see the number of spams. You can find this threat map at bitfinder.com. And I like this map because it shows you in real time what is happening. So you can see there, Australia, you have a few spam attacks, and it looks like some isolated infections, but your country is not currently under attack like the United States. And there's also a volley of rounds going off towards Russia as well. South America, some, but it looks like the main threat areas are coming from Asian countries and Slavic countries, some Middle Eastern countries, aimed pretty much right at, looks like Denver, Houston, maybe Los Angeles. Of course, Washington, D.C. is always a popular area. They are sending off attacks just as quick as they can. Yeah, Africa is pretty silent. I wonder if that's because I read an article that a lot of the internet was blocked out to Africa, and they even Starlink. So I meant to pull up the map showing where Starlink was, I don't want to say visible, but where you could get it clearly, but some places were blocked. But yeah, there is the current cyber threat map, and you can find that at Bitdefender, cyber threat, the real-time map. All right. Running short on time here. I've got a few articles left we can cover real quick in the last 15 minutes. Bring this back to the U.S. The Postmaster General, he's been there for 5 years, and he resigned this morning. The head of the beleaguered U.S. Postal Service resigned Monday after nearly 5 years in the position, leaving as Donald Trump and Elon's Department of Government Efficiency, or as we love to call him, DOGE, have floated the idea of privatizing mail service. I think it's a bad idea. DeJoy had said last month he planned to step down, but hadn't set a date. He leaves an agency with an uncertain future. Trump said he is considering putting the USPS under the control of the Commerce Department in an attempt to stop losses at the $78 billion a year agency, which has operated as an independent entity since 1970. It has struggled at times to balance the books with the decline of first-class mail. Yeah, I agree with you, Beyond the Box. Deputy Postmaster Doug Tulino will take the role until the Postal Service Board of Governors names a permanent replacement. All right, so he became Postmaster General in the spring of 20 during Trump's first term. He was a Republican donor who owned a logistics business and was the first person to hold the position in nearly 2 decades who was not a career postal employee. His tenure was marked by COVID, surges in mail election ballots, and an effort to stem losses through costs and service cuts. So he's had quite a turbulent time while he's been there. Okay, we can do that beyond the box. I believe strongly that the organization is a well positioned and capable of carrying forward and fully implementing many strategies and initiatives that can compose our transformation and modernization. And I've been working closely with the deputy postmaster to prepare for this transition, he said in a statement. Much work remains that is necessary to sustain our positive trajectory. The National Association of Letter Carriers said in a statement Monday that the union stands ready to work with whomever the board selects as the next Postmaster General. The future of the Postal Service is online, and choosing someone with innovative ideas and appreciation for our constitutionally mandated service is essential. The Postal Service Board of Governors said Monday in a statement that they had retained global search firm Egon Zehnder to help find the agency's next leader. There's no established timeline for the announcement of the next Postmaster General, so they are looking. If you're interested in the job, you can apply. Earlier this month, they said they plan to cut 10,000 workers and trim billions of dollars from the budget. All right, well, USPS workers, including mail carriers, have gathered over the past few weeks to protest the cuts in the plan they say will dismantle the service. Critics of the plan fear negative effects of the cuts will be felt across the country, and Democrat leaders from Virginia said that in response to turning over the service to DOJ would result in it being undermined and privatized. USPS employs 640,000 workers who deliver mail, medicine, election ballots, and packages across the country from inner cities to rural areas and far-flung islands. It's been largely self-funded since the 70s. The bulk of its $78.5 billion, that's what that be, budget comes from customer fees, according to congressional research. Congress provides a relatively small appropriation, about $50 million in each fiscal year since 2023, to subsidize free and reduced cost mail. I do not think we need to privatize the USPS. It used to at one point be one of the leading deliverers, I don't know, couriers in the world. So, yeah, we'll hop past this real quick. So we'll go over a little sports news. I won't bore you too much with it, but Tennessee fast pitch softball. Well, pitcher Carolyn Pickens has thrown the fastest pitch in college softball history. All right. So the reigning SEC pitcher of the year was facing off against the University of Arkansas when she fired a strike clocked at 78.2 miles per hour, the fastest in the history of recorded college softball. According to Guinness Book of World Records, the fastest softball pitch was held by a woman with another Tennessee team, Monica Abbott, who delivered a 77-mile-an-hour pitch in a National Pro Fast Pitch game back in 2012. All right, so congratulations to them. That is a tough pitch. They had that celebrity game where she pitched. She pitched to, you're correct. And Monica Abbott, I've met her. She also is amazing. She pitched to Major League Baseball players with a softball, and they couldn't hit it. And she was firing bullets, Monica Abbott was, during that game. For any of you that follow college basketball, as you know I do, the game time has been set. Tennessee and Kentucky are both in the Sweet 16, so Amanda and I will be fighting and probably not talking. The number 2 seed Vols face the number 3 seed Kentucky at 7:39 p.m. Eastern on TBS. All right, so I guess 7:39. Amanda and I will be shooting messages back and forth, ridiculing each other. They're both looking to make it to the Elite Eight and advance their way in the tournament. Deion Sanders, if you're familiar with him, wants to shoot down a lie about his draft preference for his son. The rumor had floated that he was wanting his son to go to the New York Giants and hoping that he will be a top 10 pick. So we'll see how that happens. But so far, he's saying that is a lie. And whatever God chooses for them, we will take. But there were posts all over X. Let's hope it's New York. Yeah, there was also some posts where Deion was trending about him being the 22nd rated quarterback or coach in college football, and that he could do better. So, other news: NFL and Under Armour have agreed to a long-term contract as the official shoe and glove partner. Under Armour, we're passionate about our nurturing talent and transforming into athletes' performance. That transforms into athlete performance. And they're going to continue for a long term. Let's see if we can see here how many years. But I'm sure that's going to be billions. They've had it since 2021, and they've had many players who have endorsed them along the way. And it appears they are going to continue this collaboration through 2038. Adidas has its own footwear and glove partnership as well, but it's much smaller. All right. I'm sure that's lots of money. We talked about MLB opening day. It's a little bit further down the road. It is Thursday, but we're not going to talk about the games in Japan. They don't really count. March 27th, it's going to be the longest opening day in MLB history. It's going to kick off on ESPN, and it's going to be the Brewers. The first of the day will be the Brewers Yankees. Late afternoon matchup will be the Dodgers and Tigers. We saw they've already cleared the airway for that. The Rays and the Rockies will play their first game later that evening. So the opening day schedule, you can find it on MLB.com or ESPN. But it looks like starting at 3 o'clock on Thursday, March 27th, there's going to be opening day. And the Brewers and the Yankees are going to be the first one, followed by my fan favorite, Baltimore Orioles at Toronto Blue Jays. Later in the afternoon, you have Boston at Texas. You have Philly at Washington. That'll be an interesting game. You'll have Cleveland at Kansas City, the New York Mets at the Houston Astros. The San Francisco Giants will go to Cincinnati. My Braves will open up in San Diego, Los Angeles, and will play the White Sox. Chris, I know you're not White Sox fans. And the Pirates will play in Miami against the Marlins. Minnesota will travel to St. Louis for an afternoon game. The first evening game is the Tigers-Dodgers on ESPN. And then later that night, I don't know if you'll be able to see it here in the East. Yes. All right. So I do have some sports fans in my chat. Yes. Go Yankees. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan. Go Cubs for KG and Chris. I'm not sure where you'll see it, but the Cubs are opening at 10:10 p.m. in Arizona. The West Coast games will be the Athletics. They do not have a town name. They're just the Athletics, because for the next two seasons, they won't have a permanent home until they get to Las Vegas. So they are just the Athletics, but the Athletics will be in Seattle. The Rockies, the Colorado Rockies, will travel to Tampa Bay. I'm not sure where their stadium is going to be located since theirs was taken out by the hurricane. I've heard several deals were canceled along the way for that, but I don't know. We'll see. Real quick, scanning any other sports headlines in the last 5 minutes. See if there's anything great. I still have not heard if Aaron Rodgers is going to come back to the NFL or if he's going to just retire, which he probably should. We looked at the games for MLB and where they're starting. There's some headlines out about that. Of course, a lot of fantasy baseball is starting. The NBA, there's some headlines there. Mark Bibby is named head coach of Sacramento State. I saw in XFL, UFL, one of the colleges left the Washington, D.C. team to go to the coach of a Tennessee college game. I saw that headline. Let's see. There had the props and bets on Alex Ovechkin's record chase. If you remember, we covered that a few weeks ago. He has scored the most goals in history, or he will score the most goals in history with the next one. And so there's bets on that when it will take place. We'll scan down real quick. College football doesn't look like there's much there. Men's college basketball, wow, there has been so much news out of that. I could make a show completely on that, as well as the women's college basketball. And Tennessee is also in the Sweet 16 there. I could make almost a whole show about both of those. NASCAR, that was over the weekend. Kyle Larson won. Didn't see any sport news. And Ken, KG, you need to get me some updates on Australian football. So let's see. Yesterday, women's college basketball, USC defeated Mississippi State. UConn beat South Dakota. Oklahoma beat Iowa. And Maryland beat Alabama. There you go, Bobby. Alabama lost. So, all right, that's going to wrap up that for today. We will discontinue that because we're getting close to the end. Now, we're going to remind everybody that's listening to us on Radio X in Australia, Yerg's Radio, and Rainbow Radio, please come over. We're so close to monetization on this channel. If you come over to the Para or Normal Guys, 3 words, guys spelled with a Z, or search out the Sportcat Show and find us, or you can search out Sportcat's Daily Gazette. We would really appreciate it. It would help us get monetized. So far, we have got 750, and we need to get to 1,000. And we can do it with your help and support. I'm not asking unless you want. The links are in the chat or in the show description. If you want to buy me a Mountain Dew, that's all that's getting me through these things, guys and gals. I promise you that, especially today. You can do that. If you want to shoot me an email, it'll also be in the show description. You can go to sportcat@protonmail.com and shoot me a message. Or if you have a voice message you'd like to send me, a voicemail, I'd love to play it. You can go to speakpipe.com/sportcat, shoot me a message, and we will play it on the air. And if you say some dirty words, I'll have to bleep it. But otherwise, I'll play it on the air, even if you're complaining about me and my poor enunciation at times. I can't help it. Yeah, that's me. So, but yeah, everybody, I appreciate the support of Yerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio. Ross does an amazing job and has helped promote us and get our word spread out throughout the world. Hopefully he'll help us to continue to grow. We're also on WRQ. No, that's not right. Pine Island FM in Florida on tape delay were played overnight. WZQY in Pine Island, Florida, we're there, as well as later this afternoon. This will go out on Spotify, Amazon, and all places you find things like that. I'm not sure how I did that, Brenda. I hope that you're okay. You might want to hit the yeah, Chris says don't talk gang shit. Radio Exit Australia, I appreciate everything you do. Good day to you. I will see everybody tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
That's right. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to you. No matter what part of the world you're in, have a great morning, evening, or night. I will see you in 24 hours.